This is the first time. Shirley, you're on. All right, if everybody's ready. I'm just going to introduce you, Jamie. Okay. Well, everybody, attention. Our speaker is here, and it's Jamie Dorr of the Mid-Coast Community Alliance, and she was recently voted the Citizen of the Year of Bath. So we know she's been working really hard. So we're looking forward to seeing what you do. And thank you for coming.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for a delicious lunch.
Can everybody hear?
Can everyone hear me okay?
I think so.
How about now?
Perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you. So again, my name is Jamie Dorr, and I am a local resident here in Bath. I have 3 children, actually, 2 boys and my niece who's been living with us for about 5 years, all teenagers. And until recently, until about 3 years ago, I owned my own business, web design, worked out of my home so that I could be home with my kids when they got out of school, and had begun volunteering at the Bath Youth Meeting House and Skate Park. My oldest son has been a skateboarder since he was just a little tiny kiddo, and spent pretty much every day growing up at the skate park. And I thought, what a great organization that it's been for him, so I wanted to get involved. Within just a few months of getting involved, our community lost a young person to suicide. It wasn't the first time that we have lost a young person to suicide, and it had been happening so many times that I thought, what are we missing as a community? Why does this keep happening? And how can we prevent it from happening again? So I gathered a few organizations. We started with just the Bath YMCA, Bath Rec Department, and Morse High School. And we met for the first time on July 7th in 2016 to talk about what are the issues that our youth are facing. And we talked about poverty, and we talked about broken homes, and we talked about a number of different issues, including substance use and alcohol. And we very quickly decided that we needed law enforcement to be sitting at the table with us and part of this conversation. So the following month, we reached out to Bath Police Department and Saginaw County Sheriff's Department, and they answered that call and came and joined us. The following month, they brought contacts within the community that they knew, and within just about 4 or 5 months, we had 34 different community organizations. We had students, we had parents, we had healthcare, mental health care professionals, churches, and all of the youth-serving organizations in the area. We still meet on a regular monthly basis, and our meetings are open to anyone who wants to join. So we started to evaluate what exactly was happening in our community. And one of the things, the first things that I learned about was something called the Maine Integrated Youth Health Survey. Actually, I should be pointing that way, I guess. And this is a survey that's given to middle and high schoolers every 2 years in the state of Maine. It asks a variety of different questions. It asks about nutrition, it talks about sleeping and technology use and substance use and depression and bullying and lots of different things that teenagers are facing today. And what we found was that Saginaw County ranked higher than state average for students who felt so sad or hopeless for 2 weeks or more that they stopped doing their normal activities. 19% of students are self-harming. 18% had seriously considered suicide at some point in the past 12 months. For our middle schoolers, 21% had seriously considered suicide. 17% were self-harming, and almost half had been bullied at some point in their lives. One of the other things that we learned was that only 49% of students felt that they mattered to their community. And for me, that was something that I knew was not true, because there are so many different people that are working in the community to support youth, but I know that sometimes the youth don't see that. So I thought, what's one way that we can all come together and really surprise them in a fun, warming event that shows that they matter? So we gathered early one morning. This was, I think, 2017, in front of Morse High School. We had probably 100 community members from the fire department, the police department, city officials, we had pediatricians, we had community members, and we all gathered to welcome students as they walked into Morse High School. And it was the type of event that I felt like I could do every day. And so in our 2017 survey, 49% of students felt like they mattered. And we saw a 10% increase in that in the 2017 survey. So those surveys will be coming out. They just took them for 2019, and we look forward to seeing the results shortly. This is one of my favorite photos. It's a young man walking in, getting a high five from the then principal at Morse High School, and the superintendent is there to greet him as well. So Midcoast Community Alliance began to generate awareness of what we were learning and what our teens are facing. And part of what we started to do was engage with our students in conversation, and also asking them, what are some different things that we can do to help address these? What are some of your ideas? And we firmly believe that we will find solutions to these issues by incorporating what our teens are giving us for feedback, but also providing them with youth leadership opportunities. This young person, she's a 7th grader at Bath Middle School. Her name is Adelaide Hines, and she is our student representative for Midcoast Community Alliance. And here she had organized a yellow tulip project. So we planted 300 yellow tulips in the front lawn of Bath Middle School. And we had a bunch of students that joined us, and they should be blooming within the next couple of weeks. And yellow tulips are a sign of hope in springtime. Often people think that the highest risk time for suicide is during the holidays, but it's actually in late spring and early summer. So you'll unfortunately start to notice that in the news as we go along. And so it's hard to see in this picture, but it is, we planted the garden in the shape of a heart. And then this is one that we planted 2 years ago, so we've seen the yellow tulips, and this is in the front of Morse High School. We worked with a young student group there, JMG at Morse, and again, we planted 300 yellow tulip bulbs, and it was such a beautiful display and just a reminder that hope exists. We also make sure that high schoolers and middle high schoolers know who to reach out to, that they can reach out to a caring adult, they can reach out to a clergy member, they can reach out to a guidance counselor, a teacher, a coach, a family friend, and we make sure that they know what the phone numbers are to call for help, but also the texting line for texting. And this is our chief of police, our student representative, and 2 community members who had helped us the first day before Morse High School started this past fall. We put up information on every single locker in the high school, so about 600 lockers. We also partner with local organizations such as Midcoast Hospital and NAMI Maine to encourage as many people as possible that work with youth or have young children to take a youth mental health first aid training. This training helps people identify a teen in crisis and then knows how teaches them how to respond appropriately and connect them with the help that they need at the exact time that they need it. At last count, we had over 180 students and community members in Bath that have taken this training just in the past 3 years. And these trainings happen on a pretty regular basis in the Bath, Brunswick area. The next UMatter event that we did was actually called Set for Success, and I know that a lot of you helped us out with this last year. We'll be doing it again this year in August. Set for Success served over 600 students back in last August with free backpacks, school supplies, free haircuts, clothing, and then a meet and greet with 25 different community organizations that serve students and families. It was such an incredible event. Did anyone here make it to that event last year? Yeah. It was just like Christmas. It really felt, I think joy was the word of the day. And we had 5 hairstylists that had come to donate the haircuts, and they worked nonstop for 5 hours, and we're hoping to double the number that we had because they were so busy and there was a nice long line. But it just ensures that no one's falling through the cracks. We do design this so that it's every single family, not just families in need, but every single family coming together to celebrate the beginning of a new year, and so that people know all of the different community supports that are available. So back in October, it had been about 2.5 years since the Alliance had started. We had evaluated what was going on. We had gotten the community behind us with the mental health awareness that we had been doing. But we started to really think, what can we do long term? We had sat down with multiple different student groups. And the one thing that I kept hearing was that students are bored, they're disengaged. The different community resources that are available to them sometimes have financial barriers that prohibit them from participating. Even something as inexpensive as $1 admittance to a school dance, they said, we can't even afford that $1. So there seemed to be this separation happening, students that could afford to do certain things and students that couldn't. And we started to think, okay, is there something more that we could be doing? And at the Bath Youth Meeting House and Skate Park, we have the largest indoor skate park in Maine, and we also have this drop-in teen center. But the teen center lacked supervision. It lacked any sort of structured programming. It lacked mentors. And I thought, we have this great space. It's located right in the middle of Bath. High schoolers are constantly walking by, middle schoolers are constantly walking by. So what if we recreated what was happening inside that building and created something called, Anchor, or having one anchor point. We had so many different people sitting around the table for the Alliance. We have mental health professionals, we have mentors, we have law enforcement, just everyone that's sitting around the table. And I thought, what if we brought them all together for the benefit of youth? What if we created avenues for youth to have leadership roles? What if we could empower them by teaching them skills that they might not have? What if we could connect them through engaging activities? And then in that process, be able to triage youth who are in need of additional support, and educate family and school staff and community members on mental illness. A clearinghouse of resources, if you will. Some of the ideas that we talked about were talking with a pediatrician, homework help, resources for young adults, and just getting active. So we started a Healthy Activities and Youth Leadership Pilot Program, and that's been happening since January at the Bath Skate Park. We have a number of people that come in to help with homework help. We teach cooking classes and also art classes. In addition, we created something called a scooter club, where students can come in right after school and have free admission to the skating area and also rentals. So they have their helmets, we provide scooters, and they come in after school and they get out all that energy that they've been keeping inside while they're learning for the day. And so here we have people that are doing art. And these are some of our scooter club kids. You'll notice that they still have their helmets on as they're coming in for their snack. And I was mentioning just at the end of lunch that our students are often very, very hungry when they show up, and food is a constant thing that we're trying to provide for them. We have mentors in the community that come in. This is Mark Wheeler. He came in to see if anyone wanted to learn how to fix up a bike. And we're hoping in the future to have a mountain biking group that actually goes out in the community after school, again, just to get kids active and get some of their energy out. We recently had someone donate a piano, and so here's a picture of a student who had pulled up a YouTube video and she was teaching herself how to play music. They are very, very talented young people. We want to ensure that every child feels valued and feels a sense of purpose. We started doing once a month, we celebrate birthdays, so we get to do that this afternoon. And it just is a way for us to remind students that we do see them, that they are valued, and just a fun place to be together. This was our insides before last week. We had 20 volunteers come through from New City Church, and within about 5 hours, it looked like this. So it's much brighter, much more inviting than, you know, it's a great space, but now we have a lot of color and it's exciting to be there. So our goal is to continue to keep youth I'm pointed that way. Keep youth and families active, engaged, and supported for a suicide-free community. We believe that by increasing resiliency and empowering our youth that we can protect against any sort of depression and suicide. And we just want to be able to increase children's connectedness to different organizations and caring community adults. And that's that.
No, that's wonderful.
And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
What are the signs you might be looking for in someone who's suicidal?
Sure, so someone who is considering suicide may say that they are, or they might write something in a homework assignment, they might write something on social media. They may have trouble getting out of bed. They may be withdrawing from things that they typically like to do, a lack of interest, feeling tired all the time, or the opposite, not able to sleep, not able to concentrate. Usually their personal hygiene will be poor, and one of the things that we try to teach people is it's okay to ask the question. Are you thinking of hurting yourself, or are you thinking of dying by suicide? It does not increase the risk, it actually decreases the risk, and so we're just trying to get people to be talking about it more often and realize that mental illness affects everyone. It's not just a certain type of person, and there's no shame in it, that it affects every different family from every walk of life. Yes?
Do you have another one of those first aid mental health trainings coming up?
Yes, I can find out when the next one is. We actually just had one, I think, last week at the Bath Rec Department. So usually they do Bath and then Brunswick and Bath and Brunswick. So I can find out. Midcoast Hospital, on their website, they have a mental health education tab, and that would have the listing of classes, but I can also grab your email address and send you the list. Yes.
Do you keep figures on the after-school program of the percentage of kids that come from middle school and the percentage who come from high school? And is
Yes.
that something you could speak about?
Sure. We just started gathering that information in January. I don't know the exact numbers, but I can tell you that probably 90% are middle school age students. And then we have some that are early high school, 9th and 10th grade. Usually by 11th grade, they get their license and they might not be hanging out in an after-school center as much.
Thank you. And what percentage of those kids, middle school kids, who come there after school are hungry?
100%.
Teenagers are all.
So we'll put out snack. Yesterday I made some meatballs that you add the grape jelly and the barbecue sauce to, and I would say less than 5 minutes those were gone. And so they love to eat, and the first thing when they see, because I volunteer there 3 days a week, and when they see me, they know Jamie always has food, so we know we're getting something today. So. Yes.
What is being done about, like, a lot of bullying goes on the internet. Does your alliance address that in some way, or?
Oh, it's a really tough thing to address, and we're still trying to figure out how to address it. And I think there's so many things that are outside of our control. If we can teach our children how to get help at the first signs of bullying versus letting it sit and build up and build up and build up. I wish I knew what the answer was for that, and we're still working on that. Yes, we'll do better than
When you get the dates for the training program, would you make those dates available to this church?
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes.
Can you use volunteers who are older adults?
Yes. So my vision is to ask those older adults, what are you passionate about, and what are your interests, and how can you bring that in to teach our younger people a skill that they might not know. We have one mother who comes in and she plays apples to apples, or she'll play different educational games with them because she has an educational background. We have one person that will come in, Mark Wheeler, and his passion is cycling and teaching kids how to fix up bikes. So that's how we connect him with teens that might be interested in that. So whether you're a quilter, or you make jewelry, or you like to cook, or any sort of skill that you might have, we would just say, okay, let's see who's interested in learning that, and we'll match you up with a group of kids. And there's a lot of mentoring, and there's a lot of things that are happening just naturally during those situations. Yeah.
Do you have people within the community that you can call on to provide food after school for them?
We're working on that. One of the ideas that someone had for me was to reach out to the Bath Area Food Bank to maybe set up, similar to how the high school has the food pantry, could we have a food pantry? We also give out toiletries to homeless youth, and we do have a number of kiddos that come through. We have a clothing closet so that they can look through the clothes. I'd love to be able to have that food pantry, but some of my students are, in the 6th grade, so they need something more almost ready-made that they can make themselves. And through part of our cooking class, we don't have a kitchen at the skate park, so it's actually really great, the person who comes in to teach the cooking class, make sure that it's something that you might not need a stove for. She doesn't use a microwave. It's all things that you can prepare right at a counter. And it's been really great for the kids. Healthy snacks.
Well,
Oh,
I
yes.
really like that you matter.
Oh, thank you. It is.
You never know how you touch someone
Right.
that is depressed or thinking they don't belong.
Yes.
To have that, that's really
Exactly.
great idea.
One of the great things about our police department is that we started to notice that some kids saw what was going on. They weren't quite sure, so they would go around and come in through the back door of the high school. And 2 police officers noticed that was happening and actually went to the back door and said, "You matter, you matter." And for one kiddo, I got the nicest email from his mother and said it was just, he really, really needed it that day, and it was really thoughtful. So, yes, thank you.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted you to have this. I'm sorry they're not yellow tulips.
That's all right. They're beautiful.
Thank
And
you
thank
so
you
much.
so much. Thank you for having me here and being interested. And I'll make sure to send the email of the trainings.
You want to open your card?
Oh, sure.